where product meets design is brought to you by Fuego UX, a UX research, strategy, and design consultancy. Hey, Tim, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, for sure. And as we get started, can you give the audience a little bit of your background in product management?
Absolutely. Well, I've been in the product space for 6 or so years at this point, and have led a few different products for a few different companies you may or may not have heard of. So I've worked at Johnson Controls, short stint at DirecTV, and most recently at T-Mobile. So all business-to-business products. Prior to that, had some experience in sales and analytics and consulting, all things that kind of helped build out that well-rounded skill set that any good product manager's got to have out there.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, I think that's like a common background of someone's journey into product coming from heavy data. Well, sweet. Are you ready to jump into the lightning round questions?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
All right, awesome. So starting off with the tough one, what is a common myth about product management?
It's glamorous. I mean, it's the first thing to go. Maybe just the perception is maybe when you're not in it is just how much authority you do have, right? You know, they throw out mini CEO. I don't know if anybody really believes that, but the truth is you're kind of the glue holding all these different stakeholders together, and you are the one responsible for sort of driving the product forward or whatever feature, whatever build you are, and connecting all the pieces. But at the end of the day, people don't necessarily report to you, so you've got to get them to do what needs doing without having the authority to tell them explicitly, go do it.
What's the most important lesson you've learned?
I think for people that are trying to get into it, one thing I would share is certifications don't do that much for you. And so admittedly, I'm a certification junkie, and I've got an MBA and a stack of certifications, and and there's definitely value in them, right? But it's not necessarily going to get you the job. It's not going to help you break in like you're hoping it might.
What's one thing about product that nobody agrees with you about?
I don't know if it's nobody, but you hear a lot about the importance of data, and that's the ultimate, that hardcore data is how you should be making decisions. And to me personally, I think, obviously I have an analytics background as well. It is important, right? That's not to say it's not important, but I think product sense and qualitative feedback from customers is just as important or more important.
What's an underrated or indispensable tool for being a PM?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of tools out there that you could use in your daily, day to day, right? And I think it really depends on, what type of PM you are, sort of what extras you bring to the table. So, if you're doing mock-ups and business flows and things like Miro and Mural and those sort of tools are very helpful. If you're a person that excels in doing presentations and, that executive stakeholder liaison role, then, PowerPoint and Prezi. And if you come with more of an analytics background, or that's the gap on the team that you want to lean in and help solve, then, SQL, if you want to get really nerdy about it, and then just, Power BI and Tableau. I think it's good to have, at least a little bit of knowledge of all of those tools, and maybe one or two of them be able to go deeper than your average PM out there if you want to stand out and kind of carve your own lane.
And then what's a piece of advice you have for someone starting out in product?
Starting out is tough. I think that's the hardest thing is to get in. So the easiest way to get into a product manager position, and personal experience and anecdotal, experience from other folks, is to pivot within the company that you're in. So lean in, volunteer to help out in some capacity that's adjacent to product, right? So if it's sales or engineering or marketing or customer success, lean in and try and help out in that area so that you can have some legitimate bullet points, right, on your resume. And that's the easiest way to get in. I mentioned the certification piece, right, is tough. I think that's going to help you when you lean in to actually add some value. And then the other thing you can do is just do your own thing, right? And so, if you have an idea for an app, go make the app, right? And make a mock-up of it and kind of go through all those things, check those boxes, put it on your resume and say, hey, it never made any money, but I did go through this exercise, right? And demonstrate your skills that way. You put that with some, parallel work and some certifications, and maybe somebody's going to take a shot on you. But to be honest, right now, there's so many good, talented, experienced people out there. It's just harder than ever to break in and people don't have the bandwidth to go train somebody up. So it's always easier for a hiring manager to go with someone who's proven themselves and that can plug and play and not need a lot of hand holding. So it's really tough to break in if you haven't done it yet.
Jim, let's go back to what you're talking about, because when you said people overweigh the data, I totally agree. Show me the data. Show me the data. Like, okay, sure, I can show you data. It doesn't mean you're going to know what it means. I think the other thing that people forget is that, correlation doesn't mean causation, right? And like, not everyone's going to have a PhD in statistics and understand that. But like, I want to know how you get those type of people, the data people, to actually look at maybe a more qualitative kind of input.
I mean, I had a great example. I spoke with a senior PM at I guess I can say at LinkedIn, and really said, I've got all these ideas, and he's like, yeah, everybody's got ideas. They're a dime a dozen. And biggest lesson I've ever learned, by the way, is execution trumps ideas, 10 times out of 10 in the real world. Yeah. But, he said, okay, what about your idea? And I had an idea that there's so much of the workforce out there is contractor, contingent, vendor, consultant, right? And LinkedIn doesn't have a really eloquent way to deal with those folks and to highlight. You want to show the logo where you made that impact. You want to be at the FANG company where you were there, but you don't want to necessarily, list the contractor you work for, right? But you want to be honest about it and not say, hey, I was a FTE at Google, but contractor there, right? And there's not an eloquent way to do that. And his pushback was, well, why would I do that? Am I going to get any more users or views or anything? And I was like, probably not, right? But isn't it the right thing to do, right? And when we get so focused on we're driving some KPI, I need to boost the number of users, the page views, the ad revenue, all of that. You get away from like, isn't that the better user experience? Isn't that the right thing to do? And it's inherently how we think about everything. When everything's data driven and what are my KPI and my metrics, and that's all we ever focus on, then we lose sight of just doing the things that are hard to measure, but the right thing to do.
I know you've worked on both internal products and customer-facing products at the various companies you're at. Tell me what an internal PM kind of does.
Yeah, I think it's what I've learned is that something nobody ever sort of brings to the surface, that some statistically significant portion of people that have that title product manager are working on internal products. And it's not what you generally think about. You always think about customer facing, products that are out there.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it is an internal product. And so, I've recently had, a position where it's an internal product and you're not talking about millions of users. You're talking about dozens or hundreds of users, right? So, really challenging to articulate and quantify your impact as an internal product manager, right? What are the things when the scale is so much smaller? And I think specific to your expertise, right, in terms of UX, it's really de-emphasized when it comes to internal, right? There's a mandate, right? If you start some app and it doesn't have good user experience, somebody downloads it, can't do what they want, they delete it, and you're gone, they'll never get you again. Internal, your boss told you got to use it, you're going to use it, right? Regardless of the UX, it's harder to train up. That's tough. Find the time, and I need you to use this. It's so there's a de-emphasis there between UX and to the point where, my recent role, we don't have a dedicated UX person. And so, you think of that Venn diagram between product and engineering and design. When design's not there, there's literally a void where it's like, okay, who's going to control? What is that user experience? And, if you have some app, it's like, okay, your metric is, do people download it? Do they use it? Do they pay you for it? Can you pay the bills? And, in an internal product, it's okay, what is the adoption and the utilization and people, leveraging it? We've invested X millions of dollars in this tool. And then, hopefully you can stand up an ability to sort of get that customer feedback, right? You still want to survey the experience and optimize that.
That's awesome that you focused on that, and we need more of that for sure.
Well, and just bring it to light and say, okay, that this is a segment of the product manager community. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's harder to articulate your value and measure it. And ultimately, it's really like, if you're supporting marketing, you're amplifying whatever their success is. Those become your metrics, right?
Right.
You could do 50% more campaigns with the same head count because you use this tool or whatever it is, right? That's so it's sort of B2B to C, measurement. But whoever you're supporting, whatever they're trying to accomplish, you're helping them do that. That sort of becomes your metric.
Yeah, I totally agree. Tim, thanks so much for joining the show today.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.